everyone. Welcome and welcome back to Grow Green with Vanessa. Today, we're going to talk about lettuce, spinach, Swiss chard, and chamomile. Come along with me. And I'm going to grow a couple different varieties of lettuce. And the lettuce will go into the Greenstalks. Lettuce grows fast, and you can approach lettuce in two different ways. Like if it's a lettuce that will form a head, you can allow it to form a head before you harvest it. Or with a lot of lettuces, you can cut and come again, just simply meaning you're removing the outer leaves of that plant and allowing it to continue to grow. So we do a lot of cut and come again type methods. Simply because we usually don't need a whole head of lettuce. If I'm picking lettuce, I'm usually mixing it with different types of lettuce or mixing it with baby Swiss chard or spinach. So the cut and come again method works pretty well. The only time I don't do that, the one time in particular, is if I'm growing butter crunch lettuce. I do tend to let that grow, and then I'll just bring that in and make a whole salad out of it. Still using the other greens to kind of mix different types of lettuces in, just for the variety. Makes for a good tasting salad. Okay, so we're going to plant our lettuce here. And actually, when I pulled out my cells today, I was hoping that I had a larger cell tray. But I still have so much that hasn't germinated from what we planted on the 10th of March. And so a lot of my trays, smaller trays, are tied up, and I really don't want to put it into larger trays. Also, I believe I have a spot outside on the deck that will get a lot of shade. If that is the case, I'll be able to grow lettuce a little bit longer. So I'm still looking at areas in the yard that will allow me to have enough shade to continue growing lettuce a little bit longer. Lettuce is one of those things that once it gets too hot, your lettuce bolts. It just stops growing because it is a cool season crop. But if you can find a real nice shaded area in your yard or in your garden, sometimes it will continue to grow a little bit longer. You can even plant your lettuce underneath other plants that have taller heights because it will block the sun from the lettuce, and sometimes it will continue to allow it to grow. So we are going to get as much lettuce as possible. And of course, you know what I'm doing? I am about to label my plants. So I have all my labels done for the lettuce. And we're growing a great variety of lettuce this year. One is the black-seeded Simpson lettuce. I grew this last year and it was wonderful. Oh, and that lettuce is by Sweet Yards. Also, we're growing the Pablo crisp head lettuce. And this I picked up from M.I. Gardner. Now, I picked this up for full heads of lettuce. So this is one of the lettuces that I will keep in the garden bed with an attempt to grow a full head of lettuce. That's a family request. And the next one we're growing from M.I. Gardner is the ruby red leaf lettuce. This one should be great as well. And we'll be mixing those lettuces with, this is a Swiss chard, the Ford Hook Giant. Now, this is a large Swiss chard. It will grow to be very large, but my intention is to harvest this when it's still small to eat with the other lettuces. And this is my first year growing the seed by Burby, my first year. So we'll see how that works out. But in addition to that, I am growing the butterfly spinach. And this is also by M.I. Gardner. So as you see, we have a nice variety. I mentioned the butter crunch earlier today. This will also grow in the garden beds to grow to a full size. All the other lettuces will go into a Greenstalk. I find that it's very convenient to have my lettuce and herbs in the Greenstalk right outside my door. It makes it convenient for me to get to, and I use it more often. So that's our goal. One tray is going to be for spinach alone. Last year, I actually did a Greenstalk full of spinach. And that's when we first moved here. I planted spinach in the fall. We moved here in August. I planted it by seed outdoor in the Greenstalk, and we had a Greenstalk full of spinach. It was wonderful. So we may not have one full Greenstalk dedicated to spinach this season, but there will be a variety. So there will be, in addition to the spinach, the lettuce, and the Swiss chard, there will also be radishes, some carrots. We'll be able to make a full salad almost from that Greenstalk alone. All right, so let's see. Make sure our soil is pressed down here. You always want to leave a little space at the top. Your seeds have to go in, and so you don't want to fill it all the way to the top, even though you'll be watering from the bottom. I love these trays. I ordered these off of Amazon a couple years ago, and they come with their own little reservoir and their own dome. I love these. All right. And this is our second one, and we'll fill this one up with all spinach. I'm not a big spinach cooker, so usually when I'm growing spinach, it's for salads. It takes so much spinach cooked to provide even enough for 2 people. So I like spinach. I will do a garlic spinach sometimes, but it's not my go-to. Usually my go-to for spinach is for salads. When we were growing up, my mother cooked spinach quite a lot. And so I think I grew fond of it from back then. And she always grew, but she always made a frozen spinach. And so for years, I used to keep frozen blocks of spinach in my freezer. And if I work late, or, if we needed something to eat really quick, you can always pull spinach out. Now, would it be great for me to grow and freeze my own? It would be. I haven't envisioned that yet. Maybe that's something I can look at later. I'm just thinking I would have to grow a lot of spinach. So I don't know, maybe that's something to look into at a later time. All right, so we are all set. Pack this one in just a little more. And now we can plant our seeds. Now sometimes with the lettuce seeds, it needs light to germinate. And remember, you're normally planting your lettuce seeds as deep as they are large. Lettuce seeds are very small. This is the black-seeded Simpson, and we have our label. So let's go ahead and stick our label on in here. Now, I've also direct sowed my lettuce, and I will do that also this year, but this will give me a head start since I can't plant a lot right now. And I know I want lettuce, I know I want spinach, and I want it early. So that's why I'm starting it indoor. And then I will do succession planting with my lettuce and my spinach all season long until I can't grow it anymore. I will grow it until I cannot grow it anymore. It bolts, what have you. But until that happens, I'm growing it. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You see how small those seeds are? They're very small. So normally, I don't put the seeds in very far. I put them at the top, and I'm not even going to cover these seeds. I'm going to sprinkle them on top, and then I'm just going to push them down a little bit with the small tool that I have. And that is that. And I'll try to put the rest of these seeds back in here. So one thing about the seeds, you don't want to waste your seeds if you can help it. Sometimes you can get them right back in with no problem, and sometimes you can't. So, but these are going right back in. All right, so that is one down. And after I plant, I move it to the side. And I also tend to keep everything planted in one bag together, or I'll rubber band them. And then that way, if I see I'm not getting good germination, I don't have to go through my organizer for the seeds. I can go right to that rubber banded package. Seeds readily available. I'm more likely to restart it if I don't have to go through my organizer. Okay, so these are our Pablo crisp head seeds. And we only need a few. Let's stick our label in. I'm putting in about 5 per cell. When I plant this into the Greenstalk, I will plant the entire cell into the Greenstalk. So if I'm growing lettuce outdoors, I usually broadcast my seeds, and I don't worry about it. They're so small. So I broadcast them, and I just try to make sure they're spread out as much as possible, and the lettuce grows just fine. No problem. All right, the next one is our ruby red leaf. It says this deep red variety is the darkest of its kind, a bonus. The color only gets darker with sunshine. Get that. Leaves are curled and loose. Tastes best when combined with green tender lettuces and baby spinach. Very heat tolerant and slow to bolt. So let's hope that this is something that we can grow longer than your normal lettuce. Now, I'm real excited about that one, you all. This here was our Pablo crisp head lettuce. Let's see, it's saying that it can be grown from the leaves and it kind of come again, making them very versatile, but it doesn't say anything about bolting. But that's okay. That is okay. So let's give this a planting. I use the rest of my seed starting mix, my loose seed starting mix, with this batch of seedlings here. So I have a bunch more downstairs. This year, I actually bought the bricks. The same brand, but in a brick form. At least I think. I'm almost thinking that I may have bought some back to the roots products, but we'll check it out and see. And then our next thing is going to be the Swiss chard. So that is our lettuce. So I have 4 cells of each, but again, it's multiple seeds in each one. All right, that looks great. And this next one here, we're going to do this all spinach. And these spinach seeds, as you can see, they are much larger. And it's saying to direct sow 3 to 4 weeks prior to last frost. But I've started spinach indoor before. Sometimes I get a good growth with the spinach. Sometimes I don't, but it's definitely worth it to me to try to get it started. Now, I will say this weekend, the weather is supposed to be nice out. I could get my Greenstalk out and I could sow these directly. So what I may do is to sow some directly in addition to doing this, because this weekend in the Chicagoland area, it's supposed to be 70 degrees. I mean, I even took some food out this morning so that I can season it up and it can go on the grill on Saturday. It's supposed to be really nice out. And my husband got a new grill. And so we're going to give that grill a try. Take it out for a spin, right? And so maybe I'll do that also. And of course, because these spinach seeds are larger than the lettuce seeds, you will have to cover them a little more than the lettuce. You have to find something in your life that you're passionate about, something that you really enjoy doing. It's the small things, I believe, that bring you the greatest joy sometimes, and gardening does that for me. All right, look how pretty that looks. And you see my 4 seeds in each cell. All right, and so we are just gonna push those in. So I ran out of soil, and this is the new mix that I bought. I have never used this before, so this is Back to the Roots Organic Expanding Seed Starting Soil. Premium 100% organic coconut core. And it is straight coconut core. But I bought a couple blocks of this, so I'll have some left over for next year. I actually had to add a little more water to that mix, but it hydrated quickly. And so we have our worm castings in there, about 20% to the amount of cocoa core that we have, in addition to me adding a small amount of the Trifecta Plus because we ran out of soil and these were almost complete. So I normally am not topping off with a totally different medium, but I believe that it should be okay. All right, and this will be for our butternut lettuce, in addition to the giant Swiss chard. Sorry about that, but it is time for our new puppy to have a potty break, and she was not feeling that potty break a minute ago. But this will be our last seed that we plant, so if I'm able to do it with her. Hello, Titus. So this is the game. This is Titus. The boxer is Titus, and a little bit, this is Star, our new addition. So we've been looking at getting us another smaller dog. So we had to put our smaller dog down Mitzi, and Mitzi was 20 years old. And we had to put Mitzi down about, in September, it'll be 2 years. Broke my heart. It broke my heart. And so my nephew has a Yorkie Terrier. And for the last year or so, I would watch his dog for him. His Yorkie is 15. And I just fell in love with her. And so my husband started looking for Yorkies. When you spend so much time with a dog, or a pet for that matter, they just stick in your heart. And so this is for the doggy lovers out there. And so it was really hard for me to lose Mitzi after having her for so long. And so now we have another little puppy. And we're going to see whether or not if I can get the seeds open. Or if I can get her back in her bed at least to stay. Okay. So we are now planning our Swiss chart. I'm going to go ahead and just pop our label in there. And these seeds feel so big. These are the Swiss chard seeds. Now, okay, so we've gotten our Swiss chard and our butter crunch lettuce covered. We do need to cover our spinach here. So let's put just a light coverage. Because these seeds were pretty large, not like the lettuce seeds. So we'll cover that up. Oh, guys, it's when everything just starts growing. It's just, you know, we put in a lot of work to get things to grow. It's always exciting what is going to make it and what isn't. You know, where your failures will be. You can actually do the same thing every year and get somewhat different results. Sometimes you can understand why your results are different. Other times it's, you know, for me at least, I'm at a loss. Like, what did I do wrong? But just keep chucking away. And again, for these lettuce seeds, I'm not going to cover them. I have a little like pencil like garden tool, and I'm just going to slightly press these seeds down. You really want to make sure that they are coming into contact with the soil, but not removing all light. All right. And so another thing that I want to do is to divide my chamomile. The chamomile germinated really well. This is my first time growing the chamomile, so I'm not really sure how many I need. But my goal is to collect the flowers and dry them for tea. So we are going to turn these out. And yesterday I purposely didn't water them, and so they would be a little bit easier to come out of the pot. Ooh, look at those roots. So there are 2 plants here. There are 3 plants here, and there are several here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to only pot 4 of them. And because I have 4 different cells with a chamomile, what I'm going to do is just take my scissors and I'm going to clip the ones back that are not as large. And then I'll plant the most healthiest one. I'm really excited about having chamomile that I can dry. One of the other herbs that I wanted to grow this year was apple mint, just so that I could try the apple mint tea. Yeah, this has quite a few small ones on it. So we're going to just simply clip those off like that. And then that way we don't have to disturb the roots of the other plants. No one else I know is growing chamomile. If I knew someone else growing it, I would simply share. But I do not. And then, oh, what you look at there? That's a pretty large plant. I don't want to crowd it out, so I want to be very careful not to have too many. Yeah, and I can see where that's another plant there. All right, and so we are going to plant this one, and then we'll do the same for the other 4. So I mixed up my seed mix in advance, and for the chamomile, I mixed up seed starting mix, the espoma seed starting mix, and I added to that 20% worm castings and a small amount of trifecta plus fertilizer. And that was it. All right, so we will make sure we don't have any air pockets. Whenever I grow something that's new, it always seems to be so beautiful. Oh. And that is a vibe that I'm getting from the chamomile plant. Just gorgeous. And so hopefully it will be fruitful. And I'll have some gorgeous flowers to dry. Alrighty. Push that down. I want to push it down. You don't want to pack it, but. And it's a possibility that there may be more than one here, but I'll wait and see how it grows out. And if I need to, I'll cut it back again. And in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll look up the chamomile plant to see if it likes growing together. There are some plants like the bell pepper, they like to grow in pairs. I'm not sure if that is the case with the chamomile, but we have the chamomile planted up nice. We should not have to repot this before it goes out into the yard. So that's why I put it in a container that was a little bit larger. And we will do the same thing with the last 3. And then the next thing I will plant will be the nasturtiums. And even though I'm not going to plant these on camera, I do want you to see the seeds. And as I've been on camera today, the doorbell has rang and I am expecting our blueberry plants. They should be coming today, so I will be glad to be able to get those planted as well. Oh, so these are the nasturtium seeds. Ooh. Yeah, these are big and beautiful. Make some big, beautiful flowers. Okay, so that will bring our planting session to a close. If you have not started, get started. Get started. It's better to have a short growing season than no season at all. So if there are some things that you want to grow and it looks like you have time to grow them, please do. Just get started today, get started tomorrow, get started the weekend. Just get those seedlings in. if it is way past the point of you growing cool season crops, you can always go in and buy you some transplants. Thanks again, and remember, find your joy. Mine is gardening in retirement. Bye.